Hi everyone, this is your instructor, Erin Kerwood, and I wanted to give you a quick introduction to registering for and using the Hayden McNeil Lab Simulation website. So the first thing you need to do is log into our course in Canvas. The other thing you need to do is check your allencc.edu email address and look for your personal access code. This is the code that you'll use to register on the website, and you'll use that for payment. It is a one-time use code, and it is personal just for you. So after you log into our course, you'll want to go to Modules. And then you'll notice in Module 1, there is some documents, how to access the labs. This has some information on how to do this whole registration process. There's tips and FAQs. This contains some technical support information as well as some information on how to save your quizzes if you're working on your lab quizzes and you want to save them and come back to them. Then if you go to the Module 1 lab assignments, each module has some information for the labs. You'll notice that Lab 1 has an example lab notebook. This will help get you started on how to keep your data straight if you're using either a paper notebook or you can use a Word document, and you'll want to save your data for the entire semester. And then each lab, starting with Lab 2, has a helpful hints document. And this document goes through some tips on what to look for as you're doing the lab, what data you need to make sure that you collect, and then also some example calculations. You'll notice that Lab 2 requires a graph, and so this has another document here that says graphing in Excel that has some tips on how to do that as well. So if you go back to Modules and go to Module 1, you can click on the first lab, Lab 1, Introduction to Lab Simulations. So when you click on this, then you'll have to click on this link here. It will load the lab in a new window. Once you do that, it should take you to a registration page. If you already have a username and password for Hayden McNeil from a previous semester, you can use that and log in with that. If not, you're going to have to create an account. I do recommend that you use your allencc.edu email address and your 4x4 password because this is easy to remember since you use it to log in for your Canvas account. After you create your account, you should come to a page that looks like this, and it should have our the college, Allen Community College. It should have also our course and the semester and the instructor. So make sure that this all looks correct. So this will change from semester to semester, but you want to make sure that if you end up in the wrong course, that you're going to have to contact technical support to get that fixed. So do make sure that you have the correct course, the correct semester, and also the correct instructor. If you end up at a page that looks like this, you'll notice that there are actually a lot of courses for Allen Community College. There's a lot of semesters that show up here and a lot of different instructors. So you do need to make sure that you're picking the correct course. After you do that, you should end up at a page that looks like this, where it asks you to enter your access code. So you'll click, you do not want to pay by credit card. Allen provides you an access code with the course. And so this access code is what you'll put in here, and that's payment for the lab simulation website. So after you enter your access code, then you should be taken to the home page for our course. So you should see on your home pages for Hayden McNeil, you should see our course. If you click on the course, it will bring you in and you'll be able to see all the labs for that semester. So only the first couple labs will be open initially. The rest of the labs will open up over the course of the semester. The first lab is Introduction to Lab Simulations. Yours might look a tiny bit different because you'll be looking from a student view, whereas I'm looking from an instructor view right now. But you'll go to the first lab. The little notebook at the top, that has the background information as well as the procedures. So if I click on this link right here, it will take me to the procedures for the first lab. So first here it says Introduction to Lab Simulations, background. So this is all the background information that I need to know on what concepts do I need to know for this lab. Then if you go all the way down after you read the background information, if you go to the next page, then we have the procedures. So the procedures are here, and to get into the virtual lab, you'll click this blue box right here. So this opens up a new window, and it takes you into the virtual lab. You have to put on your correct PPE every time you enter the lab. And now it will take you into the lab bench where all the materials and the instruments are. So now you'll notice you can go back and forth between the lab bench and your procedures. You can also print out the procedures if that's easier. And here it has step-by-step what you should do in the lab. So you'll want to notice that there are materials and containers and instruments, and if you hover over each one, it will tell you exactly what it is. So you want to make sure that you pick the correct instruments and the correct materials. So here it says drag a 150 milliliter Erlenmeyer flask to the workbench. If you don't know what an Erlenmeyer flask is, that's okay, because you can hover over and see this is a beaker. Here, this is a 250 Erlenmeyer flask, but this asked me for a 150. So I'm going to take the 150 and I'm going to put it on my bench. And then in step 3, it says locate the 6 molar hydrochloric acid, HCl. And it says I'm going to add 50 milliliters of that to my flask. So if I go here, I can look through my materials. I can use the arrow to go over, and you'll notice there's a few different hydrochloric acids here. One of them is a 1 molar. That's not what it asked for. It asked me for a 6 molar, and it said I need to put 50 milliliters in. So if I drag the 6 molar, I drag the bottle and I put it on top of the flask, and then I can type in the amount that I want to add. So I can type in 50, whatever amount I want to add, hit add, and then it'll pour it, and you'll notice it went into the bottom right here. So it can be a little hard to see. When you add, a lot of the chemicals are clear. It'll look like a grayish liquid, and they just do that to create contrast. So you'll notice if I take the 50 milliliter beaker, and let's say I put 50 milliliters of water in there, we know that water is clear. If I add water in here and add 50 milliliters, you'll see it fill up to the top. Here's the top of the water right there. And so it looks kind of a grayish color, and that's so that you can see it against the white background and against the gray background of the lab bench. So after you're done collecting all of your data and write your data down, make sure you save your data for the rest of the semester. So you should keep a lab notebook, either paper or Word document saved on your computer. Then you can go back to our course and you can complete the quizzes. So there's 2 quizzes for each lab. The first one is MC, which is a multiple choice quiz. The second one is SA, which is a short answer quiz. So if you open the quiz, mine will say preview, but yours will say begin the quiz. So if I open this, it will allow you to go through, look at the questions, enter your answers, and if you need tips on how to save this, you can save it and come back to it and work on it later. So you can read the questions, take some time to look through your data. You could print it out if you want to work on it offline. Go to modules, and in module 1, there's the Hayden McNeil lab simulation tips and FAQs. And in there, there's a whole document that shows you how to save a lab quiz and come back to it and work on it later. Once you open a lab quiz, you can save it, but once you submit it, you cannot come back to it later. So you only have one opportunity to submit your quiz. Once you hit submit, then it goes to me and you don't have a chance to edit it anymore. So make sure that you have all of your answers saved, everything that you want to do in there. If you have any questions while you're doing the lab, you can always feel free to email me. So you can open up the lab, look at the questions. If you don't really understand something or don't know how to do a calculation, then you can save it and come back to it later and send me an email and say, hey, I need some help on this, and I'm more than happy to help you. Just make sure that before the due date, you do both of the multiple choice quiz and the short answer quiz. So you can see here the short answer quiz. This one will have some more open boxes where you can type in, so you can type your answers. It might ask you some of the labs to do some calculations and show your work, and then you can submit your short answer quiz. After you submit your quizzes, then at the end of that module, I will go through and I'll grade them, and you'll be able to log back into Hayden McNeil and open your graded quiz, and it'll show you all the feedback for all the questions. So any questions that you get wrong, I'll give you some tips on why it was wrong and how to do the correct calculation. So I hope that helps in registering for and using the Hayden McNeil Lab website. If you have any questions, please feel free to send me an email.